Hello, so I will be reading the last two chapters of Black Beauty, and I will read this small little a page about the author, Anna Sewell, who wrote this story. So, chapter 14, Farmer Thoroughgood and Willie, and here's a picture of to start us off. I can't tell how long I lay there. At last, I found my life coming back. A kind-voiced man asked me to rise as he patted me gently. I tried hard, but at first I could not get my legs to rise me up. I tried again, and this time I got to my feet. I was led to some nearby stables. Here, I was put into a clean stall. Some warmed oats were brought to me. In the evening, I was well enough to be led back to Skinner's stables, and in the morning a horse doctor came. He told Skinner that I would need a long rest. I have no metals to nurse sick horses in, Skinner said. I work my horses as long as they'll go. Then I sell them for whatever I can get. So I was sent once again to the horse sales. At the sale, I was placed with the old, broken-down horses. The buyers and sellers looked not much better off than the sad beasts they were trading. There were poor old men hoping to buy a horse or a pony for a few coins to drag a wood or coal cart. Other poor men hoped to sell a worn-out beast for a little rather than take the loss of killing him. Some of them looked as if hard times had hardened them all over. There were others that I would have been glad to serve. They were poor and shabby, but kind and humane, with voices I could trust. There was one old man who took a fancy to me. I liked him, but I wasn't strong enough for his needs. And here's a picture of the horse sales with two guys in the front. It was an anxious time for me. Who would take me now? Then a gentleman farmer with a young boy came from another part of the fair. They had been looking at the younger horses. The farmer had a broad back, round shoulders, and a kind face under a broad-brimmed hat. He and the young boy looked at us with pity. I saw his gaze rest on me. I pricked up my ears and looked at him. That horse has known better days, Willie said. He gave me a gentle pat on the neck. I put out my nose in answer to his kindness. The boy stroked my face. Poor old fellow. See, Grandpa, how well he understands kindness. Could you buy him and make him young again? You made Ladybird young again. My dear boy, I can't make all horses young. Besides, Ladybird wasn't so very old. She was run down and badly abused. Well, Grandpapa, I believe this one is not old either. Look at his mane and tail. I wish you would look in his mouth. Then you could tell. His eyes aren't sunk like some old horses. He is just very thin. The old gentleman laughed. Bless the boy. He is as horsey as his old grandfather. The young boy is right, said the man who had brought me into the sale. This horse is just worn down with cab work. The horse doctor said that a rest would make him well again. The farmer slowly felt my legs, which were very swollen. Then he looked at my mouth. 13 or 14 years old, I should say. Just try him out, will you? And here's him, checking on Black Beauty. I arched my poor thin neck, raised my tail a little, and threw out my legs as well as I could, for they were very stiff. The farmer watched me. Then he paid the asking price. The boy was very happy, and the old gentleman seemed to enjoy his grandson's pleasure. I was taken into the country and released into a large meadow. I learned that the old gentleman's name was Mr. Thoroughgood. He gave me over to the care of his groom and his grandson Willie, who was fond of me. He and the groom took good care of me. The young boy was proud to be in charge of me, and he came out every day to bring me a carrot or an apple. I became very fond of him also. He called me Old Crawny because I liked to come to him and follow him about. The perfect rest, good food, the soft grass, and gentle exercise soon made me better. During the winter, my legs improved so much that I began to feel quite young again. One day in March, Willie and his grandfather hitched me to a small carriage and drove me a few miles. My legs were no longer stiff, and I did the work with perfect ease. That was chapter 14. And here's chapter 15, the last chapter, my last home. One day during the summer, the groom cleaned and brushed me carefully. I thought some new change must be at hand. Willie and his grandfather drove me to a pretty house. We followed a short driveway past a pretty lawn up to the door. Willie rang the bell. He asked if Miss Bloomfield or Miss Ellen was at home. Yes, they were. Willie and I waited while Mr. Thoroughgood went into the house. He soon came back with 3 ladies. A tall, pale lady wore a white shawl. She leaned on a younger lady who had a merry face. The third was a very stately-looking person. Mr. Thoroughgood called her Miss Bloomfield. They all came and looked at me and asked questions. "I am sure that I shall like him," said the younger one. "He has such a good face." "But Miss Ellen," said the tall lady, "you has fallen once. I would always be nervous riding behind him. I could never trust a horse that has fallen." "You see, lady," said Mr. Thoroughgood, "it is the careless drivers to blame. Many first-rate horses have had their knees broken. Many have had their health broken by poor or careless drivers. I think that is the case from what I see of this horse. If you wish, you may take the horse on trial. Your groom can see what he thinks of him." The ladies agreed. "We will send for him tomorrow," said Miss Ellen. In the morning, a smart-looking young man came for me. At first, he looked pleased. When he saw my knees, he sounded unhappy. "I didn't think, sir, you would have sent a horse with bad knees to my ladies." "Handsome is a handsome does," said Mr. Thoroughgood. "You're only taking him on trial. I am sure you will be fair to him, young man. He is as safe as any horse you ever drove. If he is not, you may send him back." I was led to the Bloomfields, placed in a comfortable stable, fed well, and then was left by myself. The next day my groom was cleaning my face when he stopped and stared at me for a moment. And here's a picture of him cleaning Black Beauty. That is just like the star that Black Beauty had. He was much the same height too. I wonder where he is now. He cleaned and brushed me more. He began to look me over carefully, talking to himself. White star on the forehead, one white foot on the right, this scar here, this little knot just in that place. Then he looked at my back. "As I'm alive, there is that little patch of white hair that John Manley used to call Beauty's 3-penny spot. It must be Black Beauty. Why, Beauty, Beauty, do you know me? Little Joe Green, who almost killed you?" He began patting and patting me as if he was quite overjoyed. I could not say that I remembered him, for now he was a fine grown young fellow with black whiskers and a man's voice. But I was sure he knew me and that he was Joe Green. I was very glad and put my nose up to him to let him know that we were friends. I never saw a man so pleased. "Give you a fair trial? I should think so indeed. I wonder who the rascal was that broke your knees, my old beauty. You must have been badly treated somewhere. Well, well, you will have good times of it now. I wish that John Manley were here to see you." In the afternoon, I was put to a low carriage and taken to the door. Miss Ellen was going to try me, and Joe went with her. I soon found that she was a good driver, and she seemed pleased with me. I heard Joe telling her about me, and that he was sure I was Squire Gordon's old Black Beauty. When we returned, the other sisters came out to hear how I had done. Miss Ellen told them what Joe had said, and added with a smile, "I shall certainly write to Miss Gordon and tell her that her favorite horse has come to us. How pleased she will be." After this, I was driven every day for a week or so. Since I appeared to be quite safe, the lady who was frail and pale, Miss Lavinia, at last came out for a ride in a small carriage. It was quite decided after this happy day that the Bloomfields would keep me and call me by my old name of Black Beauty. And here's them riding on the carriage with Black Beauty. I have now lived in this happy place a whole year. Joe is the best and kindest of grooms. My work is easy and pleasant, and I feel my strength and spirits all coming back again. Mr. Thoroughgood said to Joe the other day, "In your place he will live a long time until he is 20 years old, perhaps more." Willie always speaks to me when he can and treats me as his special friend. My ladies have promised that I shall never be sold, and so I have nothing to fear. Here my story ends. My troubles are all over, and I am at home. Often before I am quite awake, I dream. I dream that I am back in the orchard at Birkwick Park, standing with my old friends under the apple trees. And that's the end. And here's him dreaming about being with Ginger and Merrylegs. Oh, this was good. So the Bloomfields were from his second home. So his first home was with Farmer Gray, and Farmer Gray sold him once he was a bit older to the Bloomfields. And he worked there for a long time, but then Mistress Gordon got very sick, so they had to move and they couldn't take him with him. But now he's back with them. So it's a good ending. This was a good ending. So about the author, Anna Sewell, so the person who wrote this story. So Anna Sewell wrote only one book. So this is the only book she ever wrote. While sick in bed, she penned the story that would become one of the most loved stories ever written, an autobiography of a gallant black horse, Black Beauty. Anna was born in Great Yarmouth, Suffolk, England in 1820. So 200 years ago, she was born. She grew up with a strong Quaker faith and a great love for horses. Sadly, a bone disease and a fall when she was only 14 left her crippled. When she was older, she rode about in a pony cart, still enjoying the horses she adored. In 1871, Anna was told she did not have many years left to live. Though very ill and confined to her bed, she wrote a story about a horse. Her wish was that this book would help people be kind to horses. Her story of Black Beauty, his many friends and owners, and his life of joys and hardships, was published in 1877. Anna died in 1878. So about 150 years ago, she wrote this story. And then 1 year after she finished writing it, she died. And then the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals adopted and used Black Beauty to improve the treatment of animals everywhere. So this organization, kind of like the Humane Society in the U.S., but in England, similar, but with a different name, used this book to help as an example for people to treat animals better. And yeah, that's it. Write down everything you remember from the entire story. My only question is, how many owners or families did Black Beauty have in the entire story? So write down your answer, or you can tell someone, or you guys can like name them all if you want, so you guys can get a good number. And yeah, thank you.